Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. In many historical dramas set in the Qing dynasty today, the nine princes contending for the throne has almost become the screenwriter's favorite plotline to dramatize. Whenever the topic turns to how Emperor Yongzheng ascended to the throne, this period of history is often filled with dramatic speculation and controversy. Some claim he forged Emperor Kangxi's will, while others even believe he murdered his father to usurp the throne. In the eyes of many viewers and history enthusiasts, the process by which Yongzheng acquired the throne seems to carry a certain stain of dishonor. These theories and speculations, though widely circulated, have always lacked concrete evidence to support them. It wasn't until 2013, when an authentic copy of Kangxi's succession edict was made public, that a faint clue appeared to illuminate one of the most enigmatic pages in this history. It provided an opportunity for people to re-examine the truth behind Yongzheng's accession. The publication of this edict was like a ray of light piercing through the mystery that had long surrounded Yongzheng's rise to power. According to relevant historians, in real history, stories of brothers turning against each other and engaging in deadly rivalries for the throne were often even more brutal and realistic than what is portrayed in films and novels. The nine princes contending for the throne is one of the most typical examples. This term refers to the intense and complex struggle for succession during the reign of Emperor Kangxi, in which 9 of his sons vied to become the next emperor. It all began with the eldest prince, Yongzheng. Although he was the eldest son, he was born of a concubine and lacked favor, so he knew he stood little chance of winning the throne. As a result, he chose to align himself with another popular contender, Prince Kangxi, the 8th prince, and repeatedly recommended him to Emperor Kangxi, saying things like, "Fortune tellers say the 8th prince is destined for greatness." Unfortunately, Yongzheng wasn't very tactful. Once, he even hinted in front of Kangxi that he wanted to eliminate the 2nd prince. This immediately made Kangxi see him as ruthless and cold-blooded, leading to greater disfavor and eventual neglect. As for the 2nd prince, Yongzheng, his birth status and position made him the most suitable candidate according to the tradition of primogeniture. Thus, he was made crown prince at the age of 2. However, Yongzheng failed to live up to the honor. Raised from a young age as the heir to the throne, he became arrogant and reckless. He even took action against his own brothers, trying to eliminate potential threats, behavior that greatly displeased Kangxi. As a result, Kangxi deposed him twice and eventually placed him under permanent house arrest until his death to prevent further chaos. Seeing the miserable ends of his older brothers, the 3rd prince decided that vying for the throne was far too dangerous. He wisely withdrew from the struggle and chose to live a quiet life as a leisurely prince. With these key contenders eliminated, the remaining princes saw new hope, and the flames of the succession war reignited. They all changed their strategies, acting cautiously and working hard to win Kangxi's favor in this dangerous power game. At this point, the 8th prince, who had a good reputation in court, began to support the 14th prince, hoping that this act of taking a step back might win Kangxi's approval. Their allies, the 9th and 10th princes, also joined in, strongly backing the 14th prince. On the other side was the 4th prince, Yongzheng, a rival to the 8th prince. He initially supported the crown prince and even defended him when he was first deposed. But after realizing the crown prince had no chance of being reinstated, Yongzheng began to build his own power base. He recruited allies and expanded his faction, most notably, the 13th prince became one of his key supporters. Just as the struggle between these factions reached a fever pitch, Emperor Kangxi suddenly passed away. At that time, the 14th prince, supported by the 8th prince's faction, was stationed with the army in the northwest, unable to influence events in the capital. Meanwhile, the 4th prince was conveniently in Beijing and seized the moment. After Kangxi's death, the commander of the Imperial Guards, Long Kodo, announced Kangxi's will. naming the fourth prince as his successor. And thus, Yongzheng successfully ascended the throne as Emperor Yongzheng. This long and bloody contest for power ended with his victory. Once enthroned, Yongzheng immediately launched a purge of the eighth prince's faction, showing no mercy. Having experienced the near-bloody storm of this succession battle, Emperor Yongzheng deeply understood the dangers of such infighting. To prevent history from repeating itself, he decided to change the method of succession and implemented the secret heir system. During his lifetime, the emperor would personally write the succession edict. One copy would be placed behind the plaque reading "Upright and Honest" in the Qianqing Palace, while the other copy would be kept by the emperor himself. After the emperor's death, the two edicts would be retrieved and verified by imperial ministers. Only then would the new emperor be officially announced. This system not only prevented open rivalry among the princes, but also brought a measure of stability to imperial succession in the later Qing dynasty. It's worth asking, did Yongzheng really gain the throne by altering the imperial edict? The doubts surrounding his succession have been around for a long time, and could be considered one of the great unsolved mysteries of palace intrigue. These suspicions are not entirely baseless. The most puzzling detail lies in the coincidental timing of Kangxi's death. The year Kangxi died, the 14th prince was far away in the northwest fighting battles, while the 4th prince just happened to be in the capital. This severely disadvantaged the 8th prince's faction, which supported the 14th prince. Rumors soon spread that Yongzheng took the opportunity to murder his father and usurp the throne. Though thrilling, this theory lacks hard evidence and seems more like slander from the 8th prince's supporters after their defeat. Another, more widely circulated theory is that Yongzheng conspired with Longkodo, who commanded the military, to secretly alter the imperial edict. It's said that Kangxi originally intended to pass the throne to the 14th son, but someone tampered with the character 410 by adding a stroke above and below. It was transformed into the character "yu," changing the sentence to "pass the throne to the 4th son." This theory seems plausible at first glance, but upon closer inspection, it's full of holes. First of all, the character mentioned is a simplified Chinese character, while the Qing dynasty used the traditional form. Moreover, the character 10 was often written as in ancient imperial decrees. These two characters are vastly different, and not something that can be altered by simply adding or subtracting a stroke to deceive everyone. What's more, Qing imperial edicts were usually written in 3 languages: Chinese, Manchu, and Mongolian. Could Longkodo have altered all versions in every language without anyone noticing? Most importantly, imperial decrees of succession usually explicitly named the heir. The names of the 4th prince and the 14th prince are significantly different in structure and stroke count, completely impossible to alter. Unless the entire decree was rewritten from scratch, but how could that possibly go unnoticed? Therefore, basing the claim that Emperor Yongzheng forged the imperial edict solely on the phrase, "pass the throne to the 4th son," simply doesn't hold up under scrutiny. As a result, Emperor Yongzheng was criticized for centuries, bearing the weight of numerous accusations. It wasn't until 2013 that the tide finally began to turn. That year, the Liaoning Provincial Museum officially displayed the authentic imperial will of Emperor Kangxi, finally revealing the historical truth to the public. To prevent forgery or tampering, Emperor Kangxi wrote multiple copies of his will. Unfortunately, due to frequent wars and unrest, some copies were lost. Today, only 2 copies remain in mainland China. These imperial wills are far from ordinary, over 1,700 characters long, measuring about 1.5 meters in length and 80 centimeters in width, written on extremely precious, gold brocade paper. The beginning of the will devotes a lengthy section to reviewing Kangxi's achievements during his lifetime, while the most crucial part appears at the very end. Prince Yong, the 4th son Yongzheng, possesses noble character and deeply resembles me. He will certainly be able to inherit the great legacy. Let him succeed me and ascend the throne as emperor. This sentence makes it crystal clear, Emperor Kangxi indeed intended to pass the throne to the fourth prince, Yongzheng. Thus, the rumor of a forged imperial decree was decisively debunked. Why did Yongzheng gain Kangxi's favor? Now that the will clearly states Kangxi passed the throne to Yongzheng, the question arises, why did Kangxi choose him? How did he surpass his many brothers to ultimately ascend the throne? First, from the standpoint of imperial succession traditions. While there was a saying of establishing the eldest legitimate son, in reality, the Qing dynasty emphasized choosing the most capable. Yongzheng was neither the eldest nor the son of the empress. But his three older brothers were each more disappointing than the last. So in the end, the choice naturally fell to him. Second, during the fierce struggle for succession, Yongzheng stood out for his calm composure. He didn't form factions or cliques like the eighth prince. Nor did he scramble for recognition and favor like other princes. Instead, he projected an image of non-involvement and Buddhist detachment, deliberately maintaining good relations with all sides and appearing neutral, even presenting himself as someone uninterested in power. This uncompetitive demeanor actually won Kangxi's deepest trust. But this Buddhist image was just a facade. Yongzheng was extremely calculating. He understood Emperor Kangxi's preferences, he disliked high-profile behavior and factionalism. So Yongzheng played a more sophisticated game, while appearing uninvolved on the surface. He was quietly laying the groundwork behind the scenes, winning over loyal allies like the 13th prince. In contrast, his main rival, the 8th prince, though intelligent and capable, was too ostentatious and clearly inclined toward factionalism, which caused Kangxi to become displeased. As for the 14th prince, even though he was supported by the 8th prince's faction, Kangxi never truly trusted him, not even mentioning him once in the imperial will. Beyond character and strategy, competence was also a decisive factor. Yongzheng often accompanied Kangxi on southern tours and handled state affairs early on, making him the first among the princes to receive hands-on training. In administrative experience and policy execution, he far outshone his brothers. Thus, Kangxi naturally favored entrusting the throne to this mature and diligent workaholic. In summary, Yongzheng's rise to the throne wasn't due to something as simplistic as altering a few characters. In the fierce power struggle known as the Nine Princes' War, he emerged victorious through calmness, restraint, intelligence, and capability, gradually earning Emperor Kangxi's trust and ultimately inheriting the throne. As the saying goes, the one who laughs last is often the one who appears the calmest all along. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.